En la esquina de Rusia, Aleksander KHOTYANTSEV.
So we move into the 81-kilogram light heavyweight division. The Russian representative just making his way out of the tunnel of light behind the Russian flag bearer. Both of these nations, of course, possess colors on the flag of red, white and blue. Two of the most dominant boxing nations in Olympic boxing in recent times. And so much shared history as well. Cuban amateur boxing became a force with that first gold medal in the Munich Games of '72. The Cuban flair allied with Soviet coaching principles and techniques that combine to produce what we know as Cuban Olympic boxing today. As Aleksander KHOTYANTSEV makes his way into the boxing ring.
Julio, Cesar, CRUZ.
And just listen to the round of applause that will greet this man. Julio Cesar de la Cruz, the reigning world champion from AIBA World Championships in Kazakhstan last year, took that title for the second tournament in succession as he bounces his way to the boxing ring. And those legs seldom stop moving once he is up there on the ring canvas, and he represents that star-spangled flag of Cuba in the best of their boxing tradition. Wonderful boxer. Balletic movement, wonderful grace. He's the #2 ranked AIBA boxer. 3 fights this season in what is his first season in World Series boxing action. Suffered a defeat, surprisingly. And that was during week 8 to Nikita Ivanov over in Russia, the only match that Cuba have lost during the regular season in this, their inaugural season in World Series boxing.
Aleksander KHOTYANTSEV. En la esquina de Domadores
well,
de
Aleksander
Cuba, Julio,
KHOTYANTSEV
Cesar,
is a very,
CRUZ.
very slick operator. Russian boxing team, almost as if they're leaving the best till last. KHOTYANTSEV can handle himself, but it's going to be always one hand clapping against a fighter of the caliber of CRUZ.
So Mick Bassi, excuse me, the official in charge of this 81-kilogram light heavyweight bout.
Box.
As the opening bell sounds to begin this first of a scheduled 5 3-minute rounds between Julio Cesar de la Cruz, the reigning defending 2-time AIBA World Championship gold medalist, against Aleksander KHOTYANTSEV of Russia. KHOTYANTSEV, 25 years of age, de la Cruz, 24 years of age, and this is a rematch from the final of the 2012 Stranger Memorial Tournament, the prestigious annual multi-nations tournament. And on that occasion, de la Cruz won by a scoreline of 15 points to 10. So how much significance will that initial contest, remember that was over 3 threes, head guards were in effect during AIBA boxing then as well, those 3 years ago. So just have to wonder whether that will be playing on the mind of both boxers, but like de la Cruz really is one of the best operators in the business, as his AIBA World Championship credentials attest, and this could well be a difficult night's work for KHOTYANTSEV.
That all said, KHOTYANTSEV only had one outing in the WSB this season.
Stop holding. Cuba, stop holding.
He had a win away in Poland in week 6, and I think this is going to be crucial in the determination of this bout. Last season he won twice, and both wins came by way of TKO. So KHOTYANTSEV could make a difference and cause an upset here for the Russians.
During that season 3, his one defeat was by way of stoppage as well. So one of those boxers who never heard the final bell. Could well be a case of somebody's getting knocked out when KHOTYANTSEV steps into the ring. That was the modus operandi for him during season 3. But here in season 4, look at how difficult de la Cruz is to pin down, and if you allow de la Cruz to get into the lead, he just engages those cat-like reflexes and that wonderful movement, and is almost impossible to beat. used that style brilliantly to get his way to 2 World Championship gold medals, and perhaps what was the biggest upset of the Olympic tournament in 2012 for my money was when he lost to Yamaguchi Falcao. That was a man they had beaten 3 times previously, but Yamaguchi Falcao got his nose in front, took the first round, and forced De La Cruz to box coming forwards. Once he did that, the complexion of the contest completely changed, and he wasn't nearly as effective boxing on the front foot as he is when he's allowed to box on the back foot like that. But that, a real aberration, and he got back to winning ways soon enough, and when he's allowed to box in this manner, he's a really difficult proposition for any boxer in the world.
Well, KHOTYANTSEV is a big hitter, looking for big headshots, 4-wheel drive. He's going to come forward and allow La Cruz to operate in that way.
Good combination to end the round, and you can see, just look at the length of La Cruz's arms. I'm sure this guy could tie his shoelaces without bending over, because when he's allowed to employ that reach and that movement, those two things combined with his wonderful ring craft make him very difficult to beat indeed. There you go, 3-punch combination, backs away out of range, makes him miss twice. Punching air, a really difficult proposition for any fighter, ties you out more quickly than landing on and connecting with the target. Into range, out of range immediately. That is the epitome of De La Cruz's style, and he's used that style to box a really competitive opening round.
Well, interestingly enough, the tail of the tape, although they weren't there wasn't a lot of shots coming, what KHOTYANTSEV managed to do was just graze the sweet spot of La Cruz with a right hand, and that's where the upset lies, the fact that he can, if given the opportunity, cause damage here.
So we move into the second round. 81-kilogram light heavyweight action, and again La Cruz demonstrating his wonderful reflexes just by pulling back at the waist, sharp right hand down the middle as well. Got an indication of just how long his arms are when he walked back to his corner, and his gloves were almost at his kneecaps. Onto the front foot, out of that orthodox stance. KHOTYANTSEV just trying to draw him in, perhaps looking to pull the trigger on a overhand right that would dent the punch resistance of De La Cruz. De La Cruz, remember, was in that unfortunate incident at the turn of the year when he was actually shot in the hip in his home province of Camagüey. There was a disturbance at a restaurant where he was enjoying a social evening out, and a bullet ended up grazing his hip, hospitalized him for a while, was forced to miss some action. When he returned to the action, that was when he dropped the decision. He's really beginning to put his punches together effectively now, but that's when he dropped the decision on the road in Moscow against Nikita Ivanov. But he says that he's made a full recovery, and given the manner in which he's moving, who would doubt it? Really putting KHOTYANTSEV under pressure now, but KHOTYANTSEV comes back with a good left hook of his own. But he really does boss the boxing ring without doing very much for the most part. He just controlled with his movement, and that was a good right uppercut as KHOTYANTSEV was coming forwards. But controls things on his own terms and at his own tempo, De La Cruz, making his man miss once again, and when he steps into range, 3-punch foray, that final left uppercut to the solar plexus was on target.
Well, KHOTYANTSEV has got a puncher's chance in this, and not looking too concerned.
Step back, step back.
The style of La Cruz, working off the back foot, dancing, evading, making a difficult target. But KHOTYANTSEV, well, you can see, he set his stall out, and that is to land a big shot, and he's getting some success with that right hand, and it only takes the right spot, and he could reverse the momentum of this bout. But clearly, by a country mark, it's La Cruz giving another Cuban masterclass.
Step back, step back.
Well, they've been unbeaten at home here in Havana all season long. As referee Mick Bassi just telling or instructing De La Cruz that he's got to listen to the instructions. Just increasing amounts of grappling and clenching taking place in the closing stages of this second round. But the work done in the first 2 minutes, the first 2.5 minutes, surely enough to give De La Cruz that round in his favor. We weren't presented with the scores after the opening round, but again, we assume that De La Cruz did enough to take the opening round as well. Again, 1-2 out of range. And it sounds rudimentary, it sounds basic, but he executes the art of hitting and not getting hit so well, so very well throughout his AIBA boxing career, and he's transferred that here to World Series boxing. Marvelous exponent of the noble art. So 2018, after 2 completed rounds, Julio Cesar De La Cruz taking both rounds in unanimous fashion, and he's in the driving seat with 3 rounds to go.
Russia, let's go, come on.
So we move into round number 3. It's the 81 kilogram light heavyweight division, and the reigning 2-time world championship gold medalist Julio Cesar De La Cruz is operating as he likes. Beautiful right-left combination, and then out of range before KHOTYANTSEV could reset. And that has been the story of this contest. You see the speculative overhand right thrown by KHOTYANTSEV, but this is a really brisk start to the 3rd round. And you see KHOTYANTSEV really not sure what to do. He's turned southpaw now, as he's just trying to change his tactics, but sometimes you saw him get into punching range and then not let his hands go, so really stuck in a proverbial no man's land, as La Cruz was in and out of range in the blink of an eye. So La Cruz continuing to peck and poke with that long lead left hand. And again, KHOTYANTSEV reduced to punching the night here in Havana. Really can't get himself into punching range, can't land any effective offense of his own as we approach the halfway stage of this 3rd round.
So the pressure eased off just a little bit. La Cruz taking his time, working here, and working being the operative word, because he's working KHOTYANTSEV over from a very, very comfortable distance. KHOTYANTSEV switch hitting, trying to work out a strategy within which to nail down the Cuban, but will-o'-the-wisp is the expression that comes to mind.
I'm sorry for chuckling, Will, and it's no disrespect intended to KHOTYANTSEV, but he spent the first minute 40 of that round in the southpaw stance, and he never landed a punch, and indeed he ate a fair few right hands. Now he's back orthodox, and you have to commend his creativity and ingenuity. He's back to the southpaw stance again, but he really is getting caught between styles and almost between 2 stools here, because whatever he's trying, La Cruz is controlling things wonderfully with his feet and with his punches and with his mindset. And now, well, KHOTYANTSEV is getting on his bike, but he really is being put under pressure from some flashy shot singles from Julio Cesar De La Cruz, the reigning 2-time AIBA world champion.
So just half a minute left, round 3. And I think the outcome of this bout, even at this stage, a foregone conclusion.
That was an absolute beauty of an uppercut. The right hand down by his knees, and out of nowhere, he snaked that right uppercut through the guard of KHOTYANTSEV, and the Russian being put under increasing pressure now, and he's beginning to look more and more ragged as this contest goes deeper into the session. What a round of boxing from Julio Cesar De La Cruz. That bell to conclude the round really can't come soon enough from this man's point of view. Breathing through an open mouth, and look at the contrast over in the red corner. This man in complete control, having produced some dazzling boxing.
Well, the tale of the tape reveals all, and confirms what we know, that La Cruz is just going to sail through KHOTYANTSEV. KHOTYANTSEV started this with the possibility of a puncher's chance here, and he lands shots when he's in range that could cause problems, but La Cruz, well, absolute ultimate control of this bout, and this is a masterclass, a great performance from the Cuban.
Cuba, let's go. Stay down. Watch the head.
So another round in unanimous fashion for Julio Cesar de la Cruz as we move into the fourth. It's the 81 kilogram light heavyweight division. Julio Cesar de la Cruz, we talked about what a shock it was as he had an aberration of a performance against Yamaguchi Falcao, a man he had beaten 3 times previously in various competitions, but came unstuck during London 2012. Said that sent him into something of a tailspin from a personal point of view, but with the support of his friends and family and the Cuban people, got himself back on track and back to winning ways to take his second World Championship title in succession in Kazakhstan last year. He's ranked as the #2 boxer in AIBA boxing behind Adalbek Nurmagomedov. That's a man he's beaten twice in the 2 World Championship finals that he has contested. But similar to tennis in the ranking system, is he's continuing to peck and poke his way with that left jab to pile up the points against KHOTYANTSEV. Similar to tennis, where ranking and the amount of tournaments you can play can get you your AIBA rankings.
Hey, don't turn around. Box.
Julio Cesar de la Cruz finds himself ranked as the #2 AIBA boxer in the world, as KHOTYANTSEV got through with a good left hand out of that southpaw stance. But I would suggest that most observers would agree that Julio Cesar de la Cruz has been the preeminent operator in AIBA boxing at 81 kilograms over the past few years. 4-time national senior champion as well, as referee Mick Bassey increasingly having his work cut out in talking to the 2 boxers. Cuffing left hook, check hook, a la Floyd Mayweather against Ricky Hatton to end that combination from Julio Cesar de la Cruz.
Stop holding. Russia,
So
stop holding.
La Cruz
Stop holding, Russia.
controlling and orchestrating proceedings beautifully here in the 4th round.
Step back. Step back.
Referee Mick Bassey having to make his intentions clear vocally once again. The fighter's not heeding instructions. KHOTYANTSEV back to the orthodox stance, but whatever he's trying, really coming up short as he takes another swift, crisp single, and then takes 2 hard shots to the solar plexus as well.
Stop holding. Stop holding. Cuba, stop holding. Stop! Stop! Step back, step back, step back. Hey, head up. Head up.
So both fighters exhibiting just a little bit of wear and tear. La Cruz has eased the pace off. KHOTYANTSEV lands a good left there. Maybe at this stage of the fight might be able to claw something back.
Stop! Stop! Stop!
At this stage,
Step back. Russia.
it's all
Stop
perfunctory.
holding. Box.
We go to the belt, and really La Cruz in great form
Punches up,
here.
Cuba. Stop!
Well, there's the closing bell for round #4. And you just saw the mouth of KHOTYANTSEV beginning to become increasingly open, because while de la Cruz isn't a thunderous puncher, it's almost being put to the sword by pinpricks here tonight, because the volume that he's landing and the accuracy really are shaking up, really is shaking up. There was a good left hand that KHOTYANTSEV landed, but look at the final right hand. De la Cruz on the other side of the ring really is being reduced to chasing shadows, the right hand grazing the chin but not catching the target once again, and that must be such a frustrating experience for KHOTYANTSEV, because he's chasing an elusive target here tonight and has had limited success at best in what has been a masterclass to this point from Julio Cesar de la Cruz. 10-9 once again, unanimous fashion, all 4 rounds for all 3 judges, as we await the bell for the 5th and final round of this 81 kilogram light heavyweight bout. Julio Cesar de la Cruz in complete control. KHOTYANTSEV really talked about the fact that he may have a puncher's chance, but he's doing nothing more. It's not even roulette. This is a lottery. Those are the odds that he appears to be working with at the moment, because La Cruz has been impossible to pin down and really hasn't presented a stationary target for more than a few seconds at a time. And when he has done so, he's generally out of punching range of KHOTYANTSEV.
So KHOTYANTSEV comes into this 5th round, probably knowing full well that at this stage he's been outpointed and outboxed. La Cruz just taking the time now to exhibit the skills.
Stop holding. Break. Step back. Let go. Step guts. Step back.
Pressure's eased off.
Box.
But I would imagine the CRUZ is going to gear up coming towards the end of this round. Puts a bit more pressure on the Russian. The Russian responds.
Stop. Hey.
Well,
With fatigue setting in.
Box.
A little bit of wear and tear. It's all getting just a little bit scrappy now from KHOTYANTSEV.
so just beyond the halfway stage of this fifth and final round.
Come on, let go. Get your head up.
De La Cruz has shown a willingness to engage and exchange just a little bit more, presenting, but look at that again. KHOTYANTSEV getting his feet in a terrible tangle as he thought about pulling punches, but then found De La Cruz in another neighborhood in the blink of an eye. Well, we pondered whether the initial contest they had during the Strange Memorial Tournament back in 2012 would have any bearing. De La Cruz came out victorious during that contest, 15 points to 10 over 3 3-minute rounds, and that was part of an incredible run of success in AIBA boxing for De La Cruz. 10 successive international tournaments he won, 11 out of 12 going up to London 2012, including the World Championship title in Baku, Azerbaijan, and that is why he was such an overwhelming favourite for gold going into London, only to run into an inspired Yamaguchi Falcao from Brazil and come away empty-handed, lost in the quarter-finals, and he's producing a grandstand finish here full of flashy, swift punches, and now beginning to showboat with the hands. KHOTYANTSEV walks out of punching range, perhaps just to avoid fear of embarrassment. You see him covering up at the threat of what's coming. But 20 seconds have elapsed without a real hurtful shot being landed. But De La Cruz really warming to the task now and producing a grandstand finish for the fans here in attendance in Havana. No doubt about the winner. Julio Cesar De La Cruz has boxed brilliantly. We await the final verdict, but really it's just going to confirm what we already witnessed with our own eyes, is that Julio Cesar De La Cruz was in complete control from opening bell to last against the game, but ultimately outmatched Aleksander KHOTYANTSEV of Russia.
Well, again, as with all the Russians, a lot of heart. KHOTYANTSEV came to be assertive and to try and do business here, but this was just a bridge too far. La Cruz in great form and displaying great skills here, and really for KHOTYANTSEV there was no answer against La Cruz in this kind of form. So the official announcement to be made.
50-45. Juez 2, 50-45. Juez 3, 50-45. El vencedor por votación unánime de los Domadores de Cuba, Julio Cesar La Cruz.
Julio Cesar De La Cruz salutes the crowd in attendance here in Havana. A unanimous point decision win. 10-9 every round for every judge over Aleksander KHOTYANTSEV, who remained committed to the cause, but really couldn't get to grips with the ring craft of the reigning two-time AIBA World Championship gold medalist. Back to winning ways after dropping his only decision of the contest in week number 8. So this time, success over a Russian adversary. Cuba lead 4-0 on the night, 7-2 on aggregate. They are through to the finals, and they are well on their way to a whitewash here in front of their home fans in this semi-final second leg. Brilliant display from Julio Cesar De La Cruz. Cuba lead Russia 4-0 on the night, 7-2 on aggregate. Russia would love to get themselves on the scorecard. Only the super heavyweight bout remains. Magomed Amarov against Jose Larde to come.